Welcome to Mission Past, where we look at archaeology and history behind video games while simultaneously trying to complete a mission. Today, we're back with more Wings of Prey. The mission this time, the Red Skies of Dover. Again, on simulator mode. What else? Pip pip, tally ho. Okay, Ballyjerry's dropping eggs in the custard, so we better get scrambled. But first of all, a bit of background. It's the 8th of August 1940, in the middle of the Battle of Britain. We'll be defending Dover in our Supermarine Spitfire from a Luftwaffe bombing raid. I thought in this video we'll have a look at the Spitfire and some of the men that flew during the Battle of Britain. And don't forget you can see the other Wings of Prey video by clicking on the link. We've started the engine. While it's getting warmed up, let me tell you, the Spitfire was designed by R.J. Mitchell. And the word Spitfire originally dates from around 1600 and meant a fiery or ferocious person. The plane was given the name Spitfire by one of Mitchell's bosses, who named it after his young daughter, who he called the Little Spitfire. She must have been a handful. Okay, throttle up. Always a challenge to take off on simulator mode. Plane pulls to the left because of engine torque, so I've got to balance that with right rudder. Here we go. Ooh. Bally kites bouncing like Churchill on a trampoline. That's my attempt at posh RAF slang. More on that a bit later. But first we've got to get to altitude, 2,500 metres. A lovely day for a flying. Right, so we've got to get up quite high, 2,500 metres, so we'll go up nice and steady in a sweeping circle and head round to the waypoint. Now, in the last Wings of Prey video, I was flying the Hawker Hurricane, which were for the main part deployed against enemy bombers. The Spitfire, being faster and more agile, was generally deployed against enemy fighters, although actually I think in this mission we will be up against some bombers. The Spitfire structure was aluminium, and the design of the iconic elliptical wings and the use of sunken rivets meant that it had a very thin cross-section, which gave it its speed and agility. It performed particularly well at high altitude. Oh, and I should say that the designer R.J. Mitchell didn't like the name Spitfire. He preferred the names Scarab or Shrew. So just think, we could have been flying the Supermarine Shrew, which doesn't quite have the same ring to it. There's dear old Blighty. Word is, old Mother Fritz is packing her kids off to school with tins of ruddy custard. The posh, upper-class RAF pilot stereotype that always comes to mind thinking about this period, most famously probably portrayed by Monty Python with their RAF banter sketch. We'll see whether that stereotype has any grounding in historical truth a bit later on.
Attack a small flight of enemy bombers.
But first we've got some targets. Some enemy bombers. A lot of enemy bombers. Okay, we'll swing round and engage.
Attention, we've located a large formation of HC-111s. All squadrons scramble to intercept. We must force the bombers to jettison their payloads or turn back home. Your objective is to damage the bombers.
Got it. See if we can get behind these bombers. Must be careful of their machine guns. In real life, a Spitfire could, if you fired the guns continuously, it would last just 15 seconds tops. That's all the ammunition you had, just 15 seconds. Got him, he's smoking. Pilots usually delivered about 6 or 7 2-second bursts. Luckily for us, even though this is simulation mode, we seem to have a lot more than 15 seconds worth. Crikey, there's an awful lot of machine gun fire. There's an awful lot of bombers. We'll try and weave through the bullets, taking a few hits though. I feel like I'm in the middle of the 1969 classic film Battle of Britain, with that amazing music montage towards the end. Dun, 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 dun. When the Spitfire was being designed in the 30s, it was calculated that it needed at least 8 machine guns that could fire 1,000 rounds a minute to be an effective fighter plane. That was calculated by a chap called Captain F.W. Hill, and his assistant was his 14-year-old daughter. Dun, 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 dun. Right, well, let's take a few more out then. That's a hit. We'll bank to the right and come around for another attack. Goodness me. That's a lot of bombers.
Keep attacking until your guns stop firing. We must defend Dover. Hello, fighters. We're under attack by a group of Junkers planes. We need your help. Reinforcements will deal with the bombers. We must protect the ship. Understood, Glasgow. We'll deal with the Junkers.
Right, we've been ordered to break off, head towards the port of Dover, which is down there, and take on some Stukas. As we're swooping down towards Dover, the posh stereotype of the RAF pilot, as far as I can tell, it's based on members of the Auxiliary Air Force, the AAF, which was formed in the 1920s, and it was a bit like the Territorial Army or the National Guard of the Air Force. To be a member of the AAF, you had to buy your own pilot's license, which cost £96, which is about £5,000 in today's money. So in practice, members tended to be from the upper echelons of society. So that's the AAF, the civilian wing of the Air Force. That's them there. Those are the planes you've got to take out. I've lost them. Where did they go? Let's come around. Tally-ho! There they are, attacking the dock. Tally-ho, that's an expression from fox hunting, which is traditionally not a working class pursuit, but that's what you shout when you first see a fox. And the poshest members of the AAF, which I read were based in London, used some fox hunting slang, like tally-ho for when you see an enemy plane. Anyway, let's give this fellow a squirt from the jimpies and he'll end up in the organ. Capital. I know it doesn't look great, but this thing this is really difficult to fly on simulator mode. It's so difficult to line up the sights for any length of time, which I suppose in some ways is why Spitfire pilots fired in 2-second bursts. I think we hit him a couple of times there. Stuka's had these rear-facing machine guns that you can see. We're taking a few hits from them. Oh man, this is painful. I can't hit him. Talk amongst yourselves, talk amongst yourselves. This shan't take a moment. Aye aye. I think we pranged him there. Definitely used more than 15 seconds of ammunition. There he is. He looks. He's taken a few hits. It's a big smoke trail. I think we've got him here. Come on.
Return to base to refuel.
Despite what it says on the screen, that's not mission completed. We've got to return to base and land. Let's check the map. We'll bank round to the right. The White Cliffs are over there. This game's very pretty, isn't it? Very pretty game. Now, during the Battle of Britain, our friends at the AAF provided 14 of the 62 squadrons involved, and not forgetting that 20% of RAF pilots in the Battle of Britain weren't from the United Kingdom, the stereotype of upper-class English pilots was a small, but undoubtedly visible and almost certainly audible, minority of RAF pilots, and that's where the stereotype branches from. As well as that, the RAF had a lot of its own unique slang and still does to this day. In fact, there was a dictionary of RAF slang published in 1945, and you can still buy it online. Right, as we're pootling back to base, I did look up what happened on the day that this mission is set, the 8th of August 1940. Apparently, air attacks were comparatively few and mostly unsuccessful. There were 3 separate attacks of about 100 enemy aircraft each on a shipping convoy off the Isle of Wight, but that was all fighter aircraft. There was nothing like a bombing raid on Dover like in this mission. That came later, almost exactly a month later, in September 1940. The Luftwaffe changed their strategy to bombing London and other large cities. Right, we are getting there. Here's an interesting bit of information. Some later Spitfire Mark 9s were modified to carry beer kegs, which they dropped in France for the invasion forces in Normandy in 1944. And here's a picture of a Spitfire with beer kegs attached to it. What a beautiful sight that is. We're coming in now. Apparently, because it was one of the first planes to feature retractable landing gear, it did catch out some pilots who were used to fixed landing gear, and also the Spitfire was trickier to land than the Hurricane. Oh dear, is all I can say. And this is a terrible approach, way too high, too fast, not looking good. Hang on. Okay, coming in, coming in. Nah. No. No. Full throttle. Let's get out of here. Try that again.
Loud and
Right, coming back in. I think this is. I think we've come in across the. I think I've come in across the. Oh, I think I've come in across the landing strip. Can I put it down? Ah, no, we're going way too fast. Oh, trees! Ugh. Third time's the charm. Okay, this is better. More sensible approach. Speed is okay. It's thrown us off balance. Touchdown. Which one's the rudder? Right rudder, right rudder. Not left. Right. Brake, brake, brake. Brakes are on. Brakes are on full. Brakes are on full. For God's sake. Oh, what a dicky landing. Gone for 6. What a chuffing shame. Does anybody know any good landing a plane instructors? I think I need some lessons. Well, that was a rather ignominious ending, but we've looked at the Battle of Britain, we've looked at Spitfires dropping beer kegs, and we've explored the posh pilot stereotype. So let me know what you thought of Wings of Prey and the history in the comments below. If you like what you saw, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video.